One summer during high school, I decided to spend my vacation at my cousin Ray's house for the first time. Ray and I shared a room, and every night we would play games until the early hours of the morning. Every day was filled with laughter and fun. Ray's big sister had gotten married a few years ago, so it was just his parents and him living in their charming, weathered house. With its creaking floorboards and antique furnishings, the house had a nostalgic atmosphere. But it was isolated, far from any malls or big establishments, so trips to the mall took a total of 8 hours. They usually left early in the morning whenever they went. One day, Ray's parents were planning to go to the mall for groceries and other necessities. Ray asked if I wanted to join, but I declined, preferring to stay and play computer games while they were gone. They left later than usual, around 1 p.m., because Ray and I had slept in after staying up late the previous night. I expected them to return before midnight, but I didn't really care as long as I had my games and food. I played games nonstop since they left. By 5 p.m., I thought they must have just arrived at the mall. I got up to eat in the kitchen, and after an hour, returned to my game. I thought, this is the life, and chuckled to myself. Suddenly, I froze when I heard someone laugh. I checked the window to see if Ray and his parents had returned, but no one was outside. I resumed playing, but a minute later, I heard a door creak. Which door was that? I wondered, but dismissed it as the wind. It was already dark, and the only lights on were the porch and kitchen lights. My room and the rest of the house were dark. I was so engrossed in my game that I hadn't bothered to turn on any other lights. By 8 p.m., they still weren't home. I decided to play for another hour before turning off the computer and resting. While playing, I glanced at the door in front of me. To my horror, I saw someone peering through it. Their eyes were wide and they were grinning. I shuddered in fear, quickly looking back at the computer, pretending I hadn't seen them. I didn't know what to do and hoped they would come home soon. A few minutes later, I heard the creaking sound again. This time, I felt a cold touch on my arm. I jumped up in terror and rushed to turn on the lights in my room. I wasn't sure if I should leave the room because the house was dark, except for the kitchen, and I didn't know where the light switches were. I decided to stay in my room, sitting on the ottoman with my feet up, waiting. Almost 2 hours passed, and I was exhausted from sitting in the same position. I couldn't bring myself to lie on the bed, fearing it might appear beside me. Then, I heard the honk of a car and felt immense relief that they were finally home. I vowed never to be left behind again after what I had experienced. The next day, I told Ray what had happened. He jokingly said it must have been one of the old people who lived in the house before them, welcoming me. That was my first and last vacation at Ray's house. The memory of those wide eyes and that grin haunted me, and I knew I would never forget that night.